Good morning. I was starting to write a little article today on diet, and I realized there was just way too much to say about it. So I figured a quick video might be more helpful for you. So let me start by saying that when people ask me, what should I eat? A couple things come up for me right away. First of all, the one thing that is forefront in my mind is people have really begun to attach a lot of fear to food. And whenever we attach fear to anything, I can guarantee you it's not in our best interest. So the first thing I want to recommend is let's let go of all of our fears about food and let's just learn a little bit more about what is really important for us in our diet. Okay, so we're going to start with just looking at physically, what does the physical body need from food? Okay, so first things first, there's three things that the body actually needs. Every single cell in the body needs, and that is, it needs vitamins and minerals. It needs amino acids. And it needs essential fatty acids. Okay? So we need to get our vitamins and minerals. So where do we get our vitamins and minerals from? Well, we get those from our carbs. Specifically, we get them from things like fruits and vegetables, like that. Okay, so I usually recommend to my clients to get minimally 6 or 7 servings of fresh fruits and vegetables a day. Okay, so by fresh, I mean this. If it's alive, then it has a life force to it, right? So when you go into the grocery store, the things over in the produce section, they're all filled with life force, right? And things that are on the frozen food aisle, they might look pretty on the package, but when you look inside the package, it doesn't really look so full of life, okay? So think of it this way. If I was to put you into the freezer, would you have a lot of life force energy? Probably not. If I was to put you in a can, would you have a lot of life force energy? I think you get my point, right? So the more vibrant life energy that we're taking in from the food, we're actually giving that as a gift to the cells. Makes sense, right? So another thing is our amino acids. So our proteins break down in the body into amino acids, okay? Now, a lot of people think that protein means you have to eat a steak or a piece of ham or whatever, okay? I can tell you I've been a natural vegetarian most of my life, and in the last year or so, I've gone almost completely vegan only because my body feels so much better. I have the energy of a 20-year-old and I'm over 50. So that to me says a lot, especially when I'm around my fellow 50-year-olds and they're all like, oh, this getting older isn't for sissies. And I'm like, really? That's weird, because I don't have the same experience. Part of it's because of the way that I treat my body, okay? So our amino acids come from our protein. So you need to make sure that you're getting protein that your body can actually break down effectively, okay? Peter D'Adamo wrote a book, you may have heard of it, it's called Eat Right for Your Blood Type, and there's really, really good information in there, particularly about proteins that are really good for the certain blood types. So like if you're an A, B, or a B blood type, did you know that chicken is like poison to your body? Right? And most people are like, oh, I eat all this chicken trying to feel well, and I just feel like ick all the time. And I'm like, well, what's your blood type? And they're like, oh, I'm an AB. And I'm like, okay, chicken is poison to your body. And they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. Okay, so learning what actually works for your body. And if you don't want to read a book about it, try just listening to your body. There is an innate wisdom within us. When you eat something, you should feel full of life. Think about when you were a little kid, right? When we were kids, we'd be out playing all morning long, and then around lunchtime, we'd be like, oh my God, I need to go get a little sandwich to eat. And we'd go in the house, we'd eat our sandwich, and immediately we'd have energy and be ready to go back out and play again. That's because our digestive system was working perfectly. We were breaking those food down into nutrients. The nutrients were getting to the cells, and we were alive, right? But what happens when we're older? We eat something, and then we're like, oh my God, that was delicious. I could take a little nap. That's a sign your digestion isn't working. That's a sign that it's taking all of your body's energy just to break that food down. Okay, so things to remember here that are also very, very important is our carbs break down in the mouth. Okay, the little salivary glands excrete ptyalin, and ptyalin helps you break the carbohydrates down. They actually snip the little saccharide chains so that later on those nutrients can be absorbed in. Okay, your proteins get broken down in the stomach. The stomach has HCl, hydrochloric acid, in it. And hydrochloric acid is so acidic that if we were to pour some on my hand, my skin would dissolve, the tissue would dissolve, the muscles, the bones would dissolve, okay? That's in your stomach. It's supposed to be. That's the way you were designed, okay? Now, the hydrochloric acid is in the stomach so that when you put protein into the stomach, it can dissolve it all the way down into the amino acids. Problem, by the time we're 65 years old, we only produce 10 to 15% of the hydrochloric acid we produced at the age of 20. So that's why a lot of times as we age, our digestion starts going down. Okay, and that can be addressed really easily with I Love Nature Sunshine's food enzymes for that. Very, very effective at helping to break down proteins effectively, especially anything that comes from an animal source. So your dairy, things like that. Okay, so proteins break down in the stomach. Our fats, okay, so when we eat fats, let's get back to our EFAs, our essential fatty acids. The fats that are most beneficial to our human bodies are MUFAs, monounsaturated fatty acids, okay, MUFA, real easy way to remember it, okay? And where do those come from? Plant-sourced fats, okay? Not animal-sourced fats, but plant-sourced fats. So think of things like avocados or olives or nuts, nut butters, nut milks. Okay, those all have a plethora of the essential fatty acids in there that the body actually needs. Now, I know in this day and age, people are really, really like freaked out about fat and, you know, oh, I try to eat all like low fat things. The brain needs fat to function right. I have all these clients who come in and they're like, oh my God, I know I'm getting older because my memory, I can't concentrate. It's like, how many fats do you have in your diet? Oh, I stay away from fat. Okay, but the brain can't function right. Your nerves can't function right if there's not enough of the correct fats in your body. If you're not getting enough of the correct fats in your body, the body will start storing adipose. It'll start storing the other fat, right? Because the body knows it needs fat, and if it's not getting the right kind, it'll store the wrong kind, so just in case there's an emergency and a pinch, maybe it can burn some of it off as energy. Makes sense, right? So make sure you're getting enough of your correct fats. And where do the fats break down and assimilate in the body? In that first section of the small intestine. Bile is produced over in our liver. It's stored in our gallbladder, and the gallbladder acts like a little bag that like squirts out the gallbladder when the fats get into the first part of that small intestine. So it squirts out the bile. Bile is very much like Dawn dishwashing soap. Remember the old commercials? It would be all that greasy, icky water, and she'd put a couple drops of the Dawn dishwasher soap in it, and all of a sudden all of the fat like just breaks up into barely visible molecules. That's what bile does. So when we eat fat, like the big pieces of fat are not bioavailable to the cell, so we need to break that down into a smaller particle that the cell can actually absorb and use. So that happens in that first part of the small intestine. Again, if you don't have a gallbladder to store that bile for you, you might want to consider being on the food enzymes from Nature's Sunshine, because they do have the bile salts in there. Okay, so back to basics. I know I'm going way longer than I probably should, but diet's so important, because all you really need to know is what the body needs, and then you can start designing things you love that fulfill your needs, right? So for me, what I do is I try to keep the body very, very balanced with my carbs, my proteins, and my fats. So in every meal, I try to make sure that I have, like when I look at my plate, half of my plate is loaded with vitamins and minerals. Okay, lots and lots of fruits and vegetables, primarily vegetables. I'm a huge fan of vegetables. I also make sure that I'm getting good protein. Now for me, kale is loaded with protein. So if I have a salad with a lot of kale in it, I already know I'm naturally getting my protein in there. I might, sprinkle a few sunflower seeds on there for a little added protein. Start exploring, looking for things that you love, right? And then I'm gonna get my fats in there. So typically if I'm making like a nice big salad, I might make sure that my salad dressing, I make it with olive oil. Right? So a little olive oil, a little rice vinegar or balsamic vinegar or whatever kind of vinegar you happen to like, mix it together with some good herbs, put some basil in there, some oregano in there. Those are things that are great for our immune system. Get creative. Start looking for things you love, and don't start putting all these rules on yourself. Like, I love ice cream, okay? It was a connection, a spiritual connection I have with my grandmother. Not eating ice cream just doesn't work for me, but eating real, like, ice cream does not work for my system. It makes me feel exhausted, and the dairy, I just don't do well with dairy. But you know what I do? I take a frozen banana and some frozen mango, I throw it in my blender, I blend it all the way down to an ice cream consistency, put a few little semi-sweet chocolate morsels on the top, and it's like a delicious ice cream sundae, but it's completely healthy and good for me. So I'm going to challenge you to start looking for things you love about food, and start noticing what foods you eat that make you feel energized and what foods you eat that make you feel really tired. Start getting rid of the things that make you feel tired and adding more of the things that give you energy. Let your food be your medicine, and your medicine be your food. So that's it on diet. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon.